मोस्टली फैमिली बिजनेसेस जो हैं 5 साल 10 साल 15 साल 20 साल में गायब हो जाते हैं.
In my office, I have displayed the certificate. It is 24th June 1946. You remember that it was that era when Indians and dogs were not allowed outside a restaurant. Old man says, I've been running it for donkey's years.
And this is right.
And this is right.
And it works. पैन नंबर किसी को भी लेना चाहिए तो क्यों लेना चाहिए?
ये किताबों में नहीं लिखा हुआ जो मेरे सफ़ेद बालों ने
देखा है
और एक्सपीरियंस किया है. मैं धूप छाँव के बारे में ज़्यादा जानता हूँ. He is obsessed with his experimental. He's on an experiment. He's learned the theoretical, not the practical.
मैंने आज तक जितने बजट देखे जो सबसे ज़्यादा न्यूज़ में रहा है वो 2025 का बजट है. Why is that so? For our viewers, can you tell us कि ये fiscal deficit का actually मतलब क्या होता है?
Government is like a bankrupt government.
जब एक बार वो गोल्ड भी रख दिया गया.
So the gold is mortgaged.
Mortgage.
The new technology of metro lines laid in Australia. How is India connected?
I don't know.
All those coaches were made in India.
Wow.
You know, there is an item called iPhone, if you might have heard of it. Where is it made now?
Now it is made in India.
Why? Yes, no, but the central government has given a promise. Whenever you raise a bill, there is one component called IGST.
Somebody to take input credit
Yeah.
on the purchase of real estate.
Yeah.
Do you think it will boost the real estate sector?
Might be. India is going to become a bank of research, you know. बाहर के फूल क्यों देखने
अपने?
जब हमारा चमन इतना खूबसूरत है.
We keep sending abroad, फिर हम बोलते रहते डॉलर का रेट बढ़
87 rupees is not a joke.
6% of the entire world's population has visited Mahakumbh. Some people are saying that next 20 years, अगले जो 20 साल हैं, is like the golden age for India.
Industry in the world was dependent on China.
What do you think in the next coming years, next 5, 7, 8 years, is the best investment?
The more you grow, the more you expand, the more you research, you become more friendly to the whole system.
आपने क्या transition देखा है over the years आपकी working का?
When you pay a visit to my office, you'll see how the staff today works. Day in and day out, we have these scams coming up also. Somewhere the false claim was there, a false Aadhaar card was generated.
Somebody filed a false claim to get the money. Welcome to Podcast by Space Creators. Business, money, income tax, budget, ये बड़े relevant terms हैं. And given मेक इन इंडिया का ज़माना है और स्टार्टअप्स का ज़माना है एंड देयर आर many people getting into business, so they want an understanding of how businesses should be done. So today we have somebody that जिसके बारे में मुझे somebody बोलने में थोड़ा अजीब लगता है. क्यों इसलिए अजीब लगता है? Because he is someone who runs a chartered accountancy firm which exists since 1946. Yes, you heard it right, since 1946. So 79 years in this business. They are not only into chartered accountancy, they are also into mediation. They are also into tax plan. They do everything possible related to your business, whether it is your expansion, whether it is your separation, whether it is your taxes, whether it is your international business, whether it is your domestic business. He's someone who's on an education panel as well. He's someone who has taught at Institute of Chartered Accountancy as well. So let's welcome Mr. PN Khanna. And in this episode, he will be with us discussing a lot about the budget and tax planning and various things. So Mr. Khanna, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you.
हाँ. So Khanna जी, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है आपसे. मैं जब 18 साल का था ना, तो my father at that time, I was not in business, but my father was a businessman. तो उन्होंने बोला कि विपिन ये साइन करना, तुम्हारा इनकम टैक्स नंबर लेना है. तो I was new to this thing. I was wondering कि 18 साल की उम्र में मेरी तो अभी कोई इनकम भी नहीं है. मैं तो एक छोटी मोटी जिम की जॉब करता था. तो ये इनकम टैक्स का नंबर क्यों ले रहे हैं? Right now, I was talking to someone in my office just 5-6 days back who's 24. Okay, she does not fall in the category where she has to pay a tax. उसके पैन नंबर नहीं है. मैंने पूछा क्या जरूरत, क्यों नहीं है? उसने बोला क्या जरूरत है सर, मैं तो अभी टैक्स ब्रैकेट में आती ही नहीं हूँ, बहुत दूर हूँ. और अब तो 12 लाख वाला वो ऑफ हो गया, तो मुझे ये पैन नंबर लेने की क्या ज़रूरत है? तो मेरा सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन आपसे यही है कि ये अवेयरनेस क्यों नहीं है, और अगर पैन नंबर किसी को भी लेना चाहिए तो क्यों लेना चाहिए, इर्रिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ देयर tax bracket or not?
You have asked a very pertinent question. The importance of PAN, which stands for Permanent Account Number, is instigating or probably triggers off a series of questions. You can do a lot of transactions, but without a PAN, you cannot do those transactions. So the erroneous vision that PAN is only linked for filing of a tax return is totally contrary to facts. It's a myth, actually. When PAN is a monitoring device to monitor your financial transactions. Try buying a motor car without a PAN card. Try organizing a banquet party
Without
costing more than 50,000 rupees without a PAN card. Try opening an FDR account without a PAN card. Try opening a bank account. A PAN card is a sine qua non for a KYC. No KYC, whether it's on your income tax portal or a bank portal or a finance portal, is incomplete without a PAN. And therefore, to have this kind of an impression that I don't have a taxable limit, so I do not have to have a PAN.
PAN.
It means you cannot have a motor car. You probably, in fact, about 2 years back, there was a special amendment made in Income Tax Act that who should file an income tax return despite being below the taxable limit. And there, the first parameter came up was payment of electricity bills more than 2 lakhs.
2 lakhs a year.
Yes.
Okay.
Or payment of credit cards more than 2 lakhs.
A year. और उतना तो सब कर ही रहे हैं.
So therefore, automatically you need a PAN to justify your conduct or your misconduct.
हाँ. तो आपको पता है मोस्ट पीपल डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दिस कि उनको इस चीज़ की ज़रूरत है और क्या एडवांटेज हो सकता है. नाउ दिस जो आपने बताया, ये तो ये प्रोस्पेक्टिव से बताया कि व्हाट इज अलाउड, व्हाट इज नॉट अलाउड.
Yeah.
बट व्हाट इज द बेनिफिट ऑफ इट?
Well, the benefit of a PAN is it is an identity card for you.
ओके.
In fact, I would reverse the question. What is the sanctity of having an Aadhaar card today?
आधार तो विदाउट आधार यू कांट
Just
फंक्शन.
like without Aadhaar, you cannot apply for a cooking gas license. You cannot apply for a passport, or because that happens to be your identity. Similarly, a PAN is your identity card for financial transactions.
ओके. ओके, गॉट इट. सो मिस्टर खन्ना, एक मेरा ना बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सा आई वुड से ऑब्जर्वेशन है जो मैंने फैमिली बिजनेसेस के बारे में किया है, दैट मोस्टली फैमिली बिजनेसेस जो हैं 5 साल, 10 साल, 15 साल, 20 साल में गायब हो जाते हैं या वो फर्म एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करती. नाउ पीएन खन्ना एंड कंपनी एसोसिएट्स
Company.
is since 1946.
Yeah.
So tell us something about this.
Well,
आप लोग
I would take you back to pre-partition in Lahore in 1946. PN Khanna, my illustrious father,
हाँ,
he qualified as an accountant. And at that time, the certificate issued to him was designated as a registered accountant
registered accountant.
because the Britishers would not call non-English accountants as chartered accountants.
हाँ.
You remember that it was that era when Indians and dogs were not allowed outside a restaurant.
I know.
So, belonging to that era, that racial prejudice had its price.
तो पढ़ाई उन्होंने चार्टर्ड अकाउंट की थी.
Obviously, but then the status allotted to him was
अकाउंटेंट.
a registered accountant. In my office, I have displayed the certificate. It is 24th June 1946, and his name is there with a membership number, and he's been designated as a registered accountant. Later on, after partition, on 1st July 1949, the Institute of Chartered Accountants was legislated as an act of the parliament. And then your word chartered accountant
Came into existence.
was assigned to those people who became members on the registrar members on Institute of Chartered Accountants. And the journey traveled from there. And then I joined my father's company in 79.
तो ये पहले से प्री डिसाइडेड था व्हेन यू वर इन स्कूल दैट यू आर गोइंग टू डू दिस?
I wouldn't be able to react on that, but
From your side.
but sometimes genes help you out. And later on, after 79, I joined my father and served him. My father moved on in 2002, and I became at the helm of the affairs, along with the other partners and other, the entire faculty there. And the journey went on until 2019, when my blessed son also became a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant, and he was inducted as a partner in 2019.
2019.
So basically, whatever I got from my father, I give it to my son. So you can designate me as a middleman.
I got it.
And automatically, a professional can run in perpetuity if the children continue to display the competence and success in the examinations. So therefore, succession is not automatic. You have to earn for it
In this profession.
in a profession. So like for example, you see a doctor, you find his children becoming a doctor, and then a grandchildren becoming the doctor. Similarly, architects, engineers, there are other kind of professions. But the same analogy does not apply for businesses, because for business you don't need a professional examination degree. आपको कोई किसी प्रकार का कोई परिश्रम नहीं करना पड़ता. You become the owner by default or by birth. So like if you have a shopkeeper, he is in the business of selling or trading or buying or selling something. He could be a jeweler, he could be in cloth merchant, whatever he is, furniture. So if a child is born, then automatically he inherits it by default. So that businesses do run longer than professionals.
No, not necessarily. अब आप देखो, आपने 79 years में जो किया है, तो डेफिनेटली आपकी कुछ क्लाइंट्स ऐसे होंगे जो आपके फादर 1946 से भी चल रहे होंगे, अभी भी हैं.
Yes, we do have. We have 5 generations now.
Wow.
In fact, sometimes we visit the board meetings as professionals, and we find a conflict of interest because of the visionary change between one generation to the another generation. We have the founder father sitting there, then we have the son sitting there, who no longer is a son in that sense. He is almost past 70. And then we have further children or grandchildren, who majority of them have exposure to abroad. They have gone abroad and, have an exposure there and have a foreign degree. And they come back here, and then there is a conflict.
वो बोलते हैं हम अपने हिसाब से चलाएंगे business.
Because each vision changes. Let me be honest with you. My father had a vision in the profession. I had my own vision in the profession. My son also has a vision in the profession. Naturally, as a natural process, the vision gets filtered with developments in technology, change in values, change in social systems, and so on and so forth. So we really can't be judgmental or pass a rule. Now, for example, between your father's values and your son's values, I'm sure you're facing the same situation over there.
Yeah, so some of them are the same and some are a little different.
Yes, that's the difference that we are discussing now. That friction happens. Like, if you have a pencil, you can see the pencil from various angles. Somebody will say it is blue, somebody say it is yellow, somebody say it is long, somebody say it's short. I hope you have heard the story about those 12 people who were blind and they found an elephant. And they all, for 12 of them, described the elephant in different ways. No, this is a flat. No, this is round. This is tall. This is small. So therefore, it depends upon the vision and how far you are proved right in that vision. That's what it comes to.
एक बात बताइए खन्ना जी कि आप जब ऐसे आपने बोला एक बोर्ड मीटिंग में गए और 3 डिफरेंट जनरेशन बैठे हुए हैं, उनके डिफरेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है, तो आपका रोल एज अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट एंड मे बी दे लॉयर एज वेल, आपका रोल क्या होता है उसमें, और वो आसान होता है डील करना?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
तो आप क्या करते हैं? आप मतलब क्या प्रिपेयर करके जाते हैं? क्या सोच के जाते हो?
Well, when you go to war,
हम्म,
you'll go prepared.
हाँ,
But in this kind of a war, it's worse than a war
हम्म,
because here the damage is going to happen anyway.
हम्म,
So either the old man is wrong or the old man is right. You know, in a profession, the things don't happen.
हम्म,
For example, in profession, I would have arguments with my father,
हम्म,
or simply my son would have arguments with me. So they said, no, dad, this is not the way, this is there. So then we have supportive discussions in a very healthy manner.
हाँ,
Sometimes, I still remember the client would be sitting and my father and me would start debating on an issue,
हम्म.
on interpreting or something. Then I would say, this judgment says this, and he would react, no, this judgment says this. So the client sometimes would feel
So
it
you
bad.
have a place where you can refer to.
Yes, you rely upon the interpretation of laws.
Hmm.
You have court judgments. Now today, if somebody passes a judgment, then it goes from the lower level to the higher level. So there is a journey of judgments also. An issue gets developed and settled at the Supreme Court level.
Hmm.
But these professional discussions
Huh.
are on a different footing.
Mhm.
They are easier to resolve.
Ah.
In 10 minutes, we both are cool. So it was a professional debate. Or think of an architect fighting with his son that इसमें ऐसा नहीं ये लगाना चाहिए.
हाँ, ये लगाना चाहिए.
He would say नहीं इसमें पानी आना चाहिए इसमें हवा आनी
हवा आनी
चाहिए.
चाहिए.
After an architecture is nothing but water and fire and earth.
Yeah.
So उस तरह से देखा जाए then the son may say no he come up with a better options.
Hmm.
So therefore each would have their views and things
They'll
would get
settle on
settled.
something.
But in the case of a business where probably the old man is not so much educated,
हाँ,
try to understand. The younger ones are
more educated.
technically qualified.
Hmm.
He's done his masters, or he's done artificial intelligence, or he's a BBA expert. So he's got new management principles. So he does not want to look at it a traditional manner.
Hmm.
So what happens is the dispute arises from the vision as a traditional part.
Uh-huh.
And the old man says, I've been running it for donkey's years,
And this is right.
and this is right.
And it works.
Now, he has the school of empiricism on his side.
Hmm.
When I say empiricism, I mean experience.
Hmm.
ये किताबों में नहीं लिखा हुआ जो मेरे सफ़ेद बालों ने
देखा है.
देखा है और एक्सपीरियंस किया है.
Hmm.
मेरे सामने मैं धूप छाँव के बारे में
सब देखा.
ज़्यादा जानता हूँ. आप किताबी कीड़े होके आप मेरे सामने पैदा हुए हैं.
हाँ.
That kind of conflicts do happen.
और वो पढ़ के आया है, वो बोलेगा कि ये तो प्रूवन थ्योरी है. अगर मैं ऐसे वर्क
You see,
करता.
he's obsessed with his experimental. He's on an experiment. He's learned the theoretical, not the practical.
Hmm.
And eventually, a stage comes when both of them harmonize together.
And they don't have anything to refer to. Like
No.
you have
Yeah.
cases.
We have material in hand.
Hmm.
For him, there is only experience.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, for example, somebody does a diploma or a technical this thing in marketing or something. So he thinks himself is a marketing expert.
हाँ.
He knows much about it.
आप कैसे हैंडल करते हो इसको फिर? As somebody who's
Actually, we are more like advisories,
okay.
We just give our advisory. The decision is not ours because we don't own the business. It's a risk analysis which has to be addressed by the owners.
Uh-huh.
We are only advisories. We just monitor and give a feedback that this is what the state of affairs is.
But do you advise? So now this question comes from family dispute होता है.
Yeah.
Say there are 2 people or 3 people जिनका family dispute चल रहा है.
Yeah.
अब mostly traditional businesses में क्या होता है? They don't call their lawyer or chartered accountant.
Yeah.
They call somebody in the family only.
Yes.
वो उनके जीजा आ जाते हैं या उनके कोई और आ जाते हैं या उनके कोई फ्रेंड आ जाते हैं, वो उनको बुलाते हैं.
जी.
बट आप एज अ प्रोफेशनल एंड ऑल्सो अ बिजनेसमैन,
Yeah.
आप क्या एडवाइज करेंगे? दैट दे शुड हैव समबडी नोन और फैमिली मेंबर, और दे शुड बी कॉलिंग अ प्रोफेशनल इन?
Generally speaking, disputes, they follow the golden rule.
Hmm.
घर की बात घर में रहनी चाहिए.
हाँ वो फॉलो करते हैं मगर वो
No,
क्या
but in that
समझदारी है
yeah, but in that process they find or identify somebody जो उनका शुभ चिंतक माना जाता है.
माना जाता है
But whether that शुभ चिंतक or
एज द एक्सपर्टीज
has expertise to value an asset or not. Take an example. There is always a factory there. There's always a shop over there.
हाँ
Maybe two shops and one factory. And there are three people. All of them are owning it jointly and severally. They have not identified that this
which
is
one is
mine or
which
which.
हाँ
They are all in a common hodgepodge.
yeah
Now, once the dispute develops, then they need to align their visions and say that, look, let's maybe one person takes one shop, another person takes another shop, and one person takes a factory.
correct
Now, the father who's got these three sons, for him, all three of them are equal. So he will probably like to address it that all three of them get equal shares. Now, that's not possible. So, therefore, the differential has to be compensated. Now, who values these shops?
वो
That
आपस में
no, that Shubh Chintak is not able to do it.
he may not be an expert
He's not an expert. So therefore, they rely upon some surveyor or some valuer or authorized, approved valuer, and with the assistance of mediators or chartered accountants like us, we intervene and we display the valuations. That Lalaji, this factory is of 5 crores. This shop is of 2 crores, and this shop is 3 crores. Because it has an edge, it's on the main road, it's got bigger footfall, more customers come, so it has 3 crores. So you have total how much? 10 crores. Now try dividing 10 crores by 3.
3.3
That's where the chartered accountant comes in.
हाँ
And that's where he works out in his financial jugglery. In such a, he offers a model that, look, the person who takes a factory is richer by 2 crores. So he shells out 2 crores into the hodgepodge.
हाँ
He's not talking to each other. He's just talking about a hodgepodge.
Hmm.
So that 5 crores factory, now, in fact, what happens is we work out packages for them. Permutations and
permutation
permutations and
combination which they can pick from
precisely. That, look, this is a menu card which I'm offering, We start serving like a Zomato. Now we have this menu card. You can pick up A, you can pick up B, you can pick up C. But if you pick up A, conditions apply.
हाँ
If you pick up B, conditions apply.
तो आप उनके रिस्क एनालिसिस भी देते हो सर
Obviously,
of all three
of all three. So look, if you have the shop, if you want to take this shop, it has a premium of 1 CR. So all that money has to be generated internally within the family. And that's where the settlement arises. Quite often, Vipin, you might have seen big shops having family names on the top.
yes
Okay, now after 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, you'll find the shop is there, but it has 2 doors. It has 2 entrances.
yes
Why does that happen?
because
You have divided.
प्रोफेशनली कुछ नहीं होता उनका इमोशनल एंगल होता है या वट एवर देयर अंडरस्टैंडिंग इसकी यही शॉप चल सकती है और कहीं नहीं चल सकती तो दीवार डाल लो
No, but each one of them wants his independent share. And that's why I come back to your parent question when you asked me why businesses dwindle. They dwindle instead of staying big, large, and grow into a big industry by disputes, by friction, by conflicts. It gets divided.
so you're saying that
I'll mention you the Ambani Empire. Even that Ambani Empire was split.
yes
Why?
obviously the personal issues
Because of two brothers.
yeah
So therefore, if it can happen to Ambanis, then why can't it happen to the rest of the village?
anybody can
The law of nature is that.
लॉ ऑफ नेचर है बट मुझे ऐसे लगता है मेरे को ऐसे लगता है हम जो बिजनेसमैन है हमारे को क्या करना चाहिए ये मेरा थॉट प्रोसेस
जी.
after seeing so many people that all these decisions that we take around business we should definitely involve a professional say like you
Yeah.
so that when decisions are taken professionally the emotion stays out of it
Not exactly. Sometimes, let me also allow me to explain. The management, as far as the companies are concerned, the Companies Act has got a provision of having independent directors.
correct
Okay. In fact, after the women empowerment came, they made it compulsory that every company must have a woman.
Woman, yeah.
Now, whether a woman is wise or unwise, I leave it to you.
Hmm.
But a woman director became a compulsory.
Compulsory. This.
Similarly, there is a concept of independent directors.
Yes.
So, like somebody says, when you read a bank's management, they say, we are a professionally managed bank.
Yeah.
What do they mean by that? What they mean is that on the board of directors, you don't have people by relation, you have people by
Who are independent
function.
directors
Yeah.
and they are experts of that particular field.
Absolutely. In fact, it's not, the management is not ornamental
Hmm.
or a decorative because of the family, but it is more of a functional basis by having a professional, qualified people on the board. And even then, the banks fail. Don't forget
Yes,
that.
they do. बट इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर तो उस केस में आएगा ना जब आपकी एक लिमिटेड कंपनी है। बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस तो एलएलपी या पार्टनरशिप पे ही चलते रहते हैं।
जी जी
उनके केस में क्या एडवाइस है?
उसमें ये ऐसा होता है कि जनरली द क्लोजली हेल्ड कंपनीज where you have closely held family businesses,
Hmm.
they have their own distinct kind of a aura or a doctrine of secrecy.
Hmm.
So,
But is that advisable?
well, I can't really comment on this because there are companies where the professionals were there and the companies collapsed.
Hmm.
So I can't really make a comment that it is, you must have a professional
Hmm.
because you're running the things. You see, what happens is education and wisdom are different things.
Hmm.
I wonder if you remember Bertrand Russell, he wrote a book
Hmm.
by this title that education and wisdom are not the same
Are
thing.
not the same thing.
So you may have lot of uneducated people,
Mhm.
but all of them will be very wise. They'll be very wise. They'll be worldly wise. They'll be so sensitized and so quickly alert to the challenges before them.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you can have a very highly educated person,
Completely.
but he could not. I mean, you might have heard of the absent-minded professors.
Yes. Now, let's come to this times 2025 budget.
Yeah, sure.
I think at least I've been in the business for about 31 years. मैंने आज तक जितने बजट देखे जो सबसे ज़्यादा न्यूज़ में रहा है और सबसे ज़्यादा जिस पे आई वुड से बात हो रही है और सब कुछ हो रही है वो 2025 का बजट है. Why is that so? What is so I would say not great about the budget, but what is so something about the budget that everybody is talking about it?
Well, the first and foremost is that the exemption limits have never been increased more than 5 to 7% over the last 3 decades. Every time the finance minister was standing in the Lok Sabha, it is not necessarily, I'm not talking about the existing party. Even prior to 2004, when before Narendra Modi came up into power, even before that, the exemption limits were being enhanced, but with a small pittance.
Yeah.
You know, like
10,000 rupees, 20,000.
it was hardly noticeable. And second thing was that the rate at which the exemption limit was being raised and the rate at which the inflation was happening, there was a big mismatch. So even if I say that your exemption limit is raised from 2 lakhs to 2,50,000 rupees, your inflation has intruded already into that 50,000 increment. So
Which makes no difference.
So probably you are like, what should I say, AQI. I mean, your economic strength becomes more and more poor.
Poor.
You breathe less, and there's more thing is taken away. This time, this finance bill, which is now pending approval,
Yeah.
has raised the limit beyond that traditional level of enhancing.
Enhancing.
That 2,50,000, instead of making it 3 lakhs or 3 lakh making 50,000, that 50,000 was like a stalemate rising.
क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
And that was also not being done on an annual basis. So if you were to look at the trend of enhancement of exemption limits in the past, say 2 decades,
Hmm.
you will find it has been a very dismal picture.
Yeah.
And now to show a jump,
Hmm.
which is 5 times,
Yeah.
like 250,000,
Is not
multiply by 5, you are
12
uh,
lakhs.
no, that means 500 times.
Wow.
Now, there's the speed at which you have given the holiday for the tax liability is 500 times.
Yeah.
And certainly from last year to this year, your inflation would not have risen to that extent.
Not 500 times, definitely.
So, therefore, if you put both the messages together, you will realize that this budget is leaving more purchasing power
In the hands of
in the hands of the normal masses, whether you can call them as a lower middle class or you can
Middle
call them as
class.
upper middle class.
Mm.
But the lower classes, and in fact, if you happen to be an employee, then there is an additional 50,000 deduction by means of a standard deduction under the law. So therefore, up to 12 lakh 50,000, it's music to your ears.
No tax.
Absolutely no tax. Plus, I would add one more thing. All these middlemen, all these smaller level people, they are living on loans. Now, loans means an EMI.
EMI.
So they have to, that eats into their cash spending.
Cash spending.
So therefore, the moment the budget was announced, I think maybe another 2-3 days later, we had the RBI governor. He reduced, he reduced your PLRs.
Yeah.
Your rate, which is reduced by 0.25%. Now that 0.25 has a cascading effect on the payment of the EMIs. So if you were paying EMI of 100 rupees, you would be paying a lesser EMI at a lesser rate of interest on a softer terms. Now, if you pay less EMI, you have more money in your account.
That's why it is a
So, in fact, one word would summarize, it is a populist budget.
populist budget. Now, populist budget you said. Now, ये सिर्फ populist budget है या फिर ये actually भी तो फर्क डाल ही रहा है लोगों के लिए?
किस प्रकार से कह रहे हैं आप?
जैसे आपने बोला ज़्यादा पैसे हाथ में रहेंगे
जी, ज़्यादा पैसे
स्पेंड करने के लिए।
तो उससे क्या होगा? उसका अब आगे नेक्स्ट स्टेप पे चलिए आप। जब आपके पास ज़्यादा पैसे होंगे, तो आप ज़्यादा खरीदारी करोगे। जब आप ज़्यादा खरीदारी करोगे, तो उससे हमारे देश की जो प्रोडक्शन है, रादर डिमांड जो है, वो बढ़ेगी और उससे हमारी प्रोडक्शन भी बढ़ेगी।
हाँ।
तो जब हमारी प्रोडक्शन बढ़ेगी, तो हम वहीं पे आ जाएँगे, जब हमारा जीडीपी विल राइज़।
GDP will rise.
एंड एट द सेम टाइम हमारी जो स्पेंडिंग है, which is popularly known as a fiscal deficit, our fiscal deficit is going to be arrested. वो हमारा कम होता चला जाएगा।
आप ये for our viewers, can you tell us कि ये fiscal deficit का actually मतलब क्या होता है? And how is it calculated?
Like, you are spending money and you're earning money.
हाँ।
So if you have a shortfall, you ask your father
कि कुछ दे दो।
to कुछ दे दो. Why do you ask that? Because that is a deficit in your hands.
हाँ।
Similarly, the government is also like a person. It also has its collection and revenues. So it has cash collections from taxes, etc. It foregoes some places, so it gets lesser revenue.
Spending. Okay.
So similarly, it has project outlays. It is developing into infrastructure, your
Capital expenditure.
your defense structure, your technology, your made in India, all these projects. Then it is giving away subsidies. You remember we have a host of yojanas.
Yojana, हाँ.
It starts with Pradhan Mantri XYZ Yojana. So it is going to cover certain segments of various part of the society. Now all those schemes, they cost money. So whatever the fiscal deficit arises, that means there is always a shortfall
of
that shortfall is a measurement of the
health of
GDP.
the economy.
Yes, it shows the health of the economy. Now, if a government,
वो जितना reduce होगा उतना इसका मतलब
as your economic health will go up.
okay.
There was a time where your fiscal deficit was very high.
Like what percent?
I won't react on that, but so high that the government is like a bankrupt government. The government has no money.
जब एक बार वो gold भी रख दिया गया,
So the gold is mortgaged.
mortgaged.
Now this time that gold which was lying in London
Hmm.
has been physically brought back to India.
Wow.
We have redeemed everything over there. Only probably I think the Kohinoor remains to come back.
Will that come back?
Of course it will.
Yeah, yeah. So now this time the fiscal deficit, they're saying 4.4%.
4%.
4%.
Yeah.
And
The ideal is 3%.
ideal is 3%.
Yeah. If you have a ideal economic model. Now let me also tell you, this is an economist view of looking at things. So therefore, if the economy has to run, it doesn't have to be a stagnant economy.
It has to keep moving.
It has to keep moving. It has to create production. It has to create demand.
Hmm.
It has to have a faster working capital cycle.
Okay.
And it's not just you become a destination India for the world. Recently, I read that a new metro lines, 12 metro coaches, they were launched in Australia. Now, you tell me, Vipin, what do India has to got to do with it? The new technology of metro lines laid in Australia. How is India connected?
I don't know.
All those coaches were made in India.
Wow.
That's where the India is standing on the map.
Uh-huh.
India is a place where I don't think you could have ever thought that Apple would be manufacturing its production facilities here.
Now is.
You know, there is an item called iPhone, if you might have heard of it. Where is it made now?
Now it is made in India.
Why? That's where I'm trying to take India. That's where I'm trying to impress that India is not just talking. India has landed on the moon as well.
Yeah.
India has made a place for itself. India is not only behind India is manufacturing aircraft also.
So how is the budget impacting the economy in a manner कि Apple phone भी यहाँ manufacture हो पा रहा?
Well, no, this is a past. I mean, this happened in
Not
the
this one,
preceding
but
budget.
okay, preceding budget.
Yeah, in the preceding budgets, we started, like you mentioned in the initial stage, you have startups.
Yeah.
So incentives are given, holidays are given, SOPs are given. You know, if I give an industrial SOP for a particular place or a particular industry, it is to help the industry tide over its infancy stage and develop and face the competition. Look at the customs duty, the customs tariff are being revised. I'm expecting more technical amendments also.
Okay.
I'm also expecting a big rationalization step in the GST.
Okay.
Because
what do you mean by that? Rational?
The GST rates are going to be rationalized.
They'll be lowered?
They'll be lowered for the common man.
Uh-huh.
Like there are some goods which are known as sinful goods.
Okay.
Or harmful goods.
Okay.
Or luxury goods. They are taxed at 28%.
28%. Okay.
So maybe a highly placed where you are required, so that would be at 28%.
Okay.
Well, liquor would fall into that category. But then there are some elements
which will be removed from 28.
which will be rationalized. Then the other slab is 18%.
18%.
Then you have 12%. Then you probably 18 will come down to 12, 12 will come down to 5. So it's a battle actually. You know, whenever they want to take a GST stand, why the fight happens is because the state governments have their own share in it.
Uh-huh. They cry that
So they
our
pay,
share will-
our share is going to get diminished or it's going to get little bit.
But up to most of the state governments and the central government are same.
Yes, no, but the central government has given a promise that if a state government stands to lose revenue, then there is some kind of a corpus created where the redemption will be done over a period of 5
By
years.
the center.
Yeah, by the center.
Uh-huh.
Now, you see, when you talk, have you ever seen a bill, a GST bill?
Yes. We raise it.
You raise a bill. So, whenever you raise a bill, there is one component called
CSG.
IGST,
Yes.
which is again between two interstates.
Yeah.
Then you have SGST,
And
which is the state
CGST.
level. And then you have CGST.
It goes to the state, it goes to the center.
Yes, absolutely. Then you have an issue relating to the ITCs, which is the input tax credit. Certain situations are there where the ITC is not permissible.
Like in real estate.
Like in real estate.
Why is that so? If somebody is buying a real estate.
Well, on a finished product, the GST would be there, but then on an unfinished product, it would not be there.
No, in say in an under construction property,
Yeah.
there is GST.
Yes.
So that's the unfinished product.
True. That's unfinished.
But that the buyer cannot set off.
You cannot. You cannot.
Why is that?
Like another example, you have an air-conditioned restaurant serving liquor. There the GST rate was 12%.
Yes.
So they say we want to make popular, so we reduce it from 12% to 5%. But they withdrew the ITC facility.
But why is that?
Well, it's kind of an economic strategy, and the GST experts, in all their wisdom, they play along with this taxation regime. How it happens, how it doesn't happen, it gets amended also.
So do you think if they reduce, especially I'm talking in terms of real estate,
Yeah.
real estate no input credit lene de,
Ji.
do you think that will
That will work.
increase the
No, that works against the GST policy of the country.
okay?
You see, once there is a policy, then the charge of rates is only a procedural matter. Now, a procedure cannot overtake the policy.
So if they change the policy
If they change the policy,
and
yes.
if they allow
Yeah.
somebody to take input credit
Yeah.
on the purchase of real estate,
Yeah.
do you think it will boost the real estate sector?
Might be. You also should realize that GST does not apply to residential properties.
No, it does 5%.
No, 5% is there.
Under construction.
Yeah, under construction. But then you have to take a call on that, whether sometimes reducing the GST rate without the ITC works as a healthier model than with a higher GST rate with ITC.
So it is proposed this time that there'll be a rationalization.
No, see, the GST is not part of the budget. Let me tell you that.
It will come later.
GST is like a central law which has an independent council away from the Income Tax Act.
But is it impacted by the budget?
No, not exactly.
It's not.
Not exactly.
Like you were saying, these will be rationalized.
They are being rationalized as a parallel measure.
As a parallel measure.
Like, for example, your bank rate got reduced.
Yes. As a parallel measure.
As a parallel measure.
Okay.
There is a host of for example, now the education department is being mobilized into setting up research centers. That is going to be a big wave for us.
Like research centers of what kind of research?
All technical research.
Okay.
So then probably India is going to become a bank of research,
This is being funded by the government.
Naturally,
the research centers.
It's being paid by you as a taxpayer.
Okay.
So the government
So everything is paid by us.
Yes, absolutely. So the government doesn't pay. The government collects the taxes and uses it for the projects. Take another example. There is another policy of the government to develop India as a tourism destination and developing places of tourism, creating the infrastructure.
The way they've done it with religious tourism, they'll do it with
they're converting medical tourism. You see, tourism has got various segments. Religious tourism. I mean, they are cleaning up the places. They are selling India abroad as a
destination. Like Mahakumbh is going on, and it's
Mahakumbh doesn't happen every day, but at the similar times, you should look at it in a very pragmatic way. आप थोड़ा सा विजन को थोड़ा सा बड़ा करके देखिए. Because of the problem gone in your Article 370, so Kashmir has become a very hot spot.
Very hot spot.
As a tourism destination. So what the Honorable Prime Minister has put on record a year back, that why should we spend foreign exchange going abroad to see borrowed glory? बाहर के फूल क्यों देखने जब हमारा चमन इतना खूबसूरत है. आपको शायद याद होगा ना, ज़मीन नस्त ज़मीन नस्त ज़मीन नस्त.
I know.
Then the Jahangir had said,
yes,
so
for
that
Kashmir.
Yes, for Kashmir. So that is still true today.
Yeah.
Then recently you might have seen development of Lakshadweep.
Correct.
That again is developing as a best resort
destination.
Resort destination. Then you have Then you think of luxury cruises,
Mm.
all made in India.
Yeah.
And why this is happening is because you want to save the foreign exchange of the country.
Which we keep sending abroad और फिर हम बोलते रहते dollar का rate बढ़
87 rupees is not a joke
Yeah.
for you to see Kashmir. If I ask you to pay me 87 rupees
Mm.
to a dollar to see Kashmir
Hmm.
or to see Switzerland,
Mm.
naturally you'll save on the you'll
Yes.
save the country. It's not a saving of yours, it's a saving of a national resource.
Yeah.
And look at the revenue part of it.
And Kashmir is so beautiful. I was there just say 4 months back.
See, so you would have realized for yourself that what your generation has missed since 1979.
No, I haven't because I used to go there as a child. I used to go there.
But
every day.
since
Yeah, most
1979,
people have missed it.
no, that corridor is closed from 1979.
1989, 89.
No, 79 they started the striking the
Acha, strike.
terrorist.
Yeah, yeah.
That first terrorist strike at Lal Bagh in Srinagar
Yes.
took
Was-
place in 79. After 79, there was no traffic.
Yeah.
And now, I'm not particularly emphasizing Kashmir,
Kashmir, but
on a pan India, there are places which are going to be a source of revenue in two ways, negatively as well as positively.
positively.
Negatively, why? Because your foreign exchange will not go abroad. And why positively? Because those foreigners will come to our India and they will bring in foreign exchange.
That's what I was reading somewhere that 6% of the entire world's population has visited Mahakumbh.
See, there you are. In fact, I was looking at the statistics. They say you add up all the Olympics
Put together.
put together, they won't
Till
have
today.
the number of people won't have attended
No.
all the Olympics together as they would attend. Well, this Mahakumbh Mela is a outstanding, a mega event which does not happen every year. But I would still remember Ayodhya, where this was developed as a huge destination.
Yeah.
See, when a foreigner comes from abroad, he wants what? A good hotel, a good
Yeah.
infrastructure, a good train, a good tariff. International Ayodhya has the best international airport today.
Yeah, it does.
So that's how things are going to develop in the due course, which needs infrastructure spending. And somehow or the other, the budget 2025 has some small niche created for spending in these directions.
Let's come back to you said that India is going to be the R&D hub of the world.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what all kind of R&D education centers or banks that are government planned?
Well, when you talk of R&D, you basically address the word industry.
Okay.
So whenever there's an R&D, it happens in the industry. Then you have defense.
Okay.
Then you will have all the equipments being made in India. Now you do not, earlier you were dependent. 95% of your automobile industry in the world was dependent on China.
Yes.
I don't know whether you have booked an Audi car or something last year and it was in your wait list because the chip is not come.
Yeah, I did.
What does that mean?
That we are dependent on another country for the chip.
So then why can't we have chips here? What is so good about China?
Because we haven't invested in R&D.
That's exactly what I'm trying to explain to you is that we have disasters over here which can cripple the whole industry because of lack of technology or lack of infrastructure or more so lack of research and development. Now, whatever you may say, expenditure on research and development is as essential as the salt which you put in your sabji. अगर आप अपनी सब्जी में नमक नहीं डालोगे
पता नहीं आएगा
तो आपको वो सब्जी हजम ही नहीं हो सकती. इसी प्रकार से R&D का जो एक रोल माना गया है, that is the some kind of a catalyst to your improvement. How you do more better things. Have you heard of the new e-vehicle, your electric cars, the new vehicle which has now been developed?
Yeah.
It has become a challenge worldwide.
Yeah.
It is the best e-car all over the world. Why is it happening? It's only because of your research
Research and
and
development.
development.
Yeah.
In fact, the government goes one step further and grants you subsidies and waivers.
If you do this.
If you buy a EV today, right now, if you cut a check of some EV car, you need not pay the registration cost. They give you a free electricity that kit, plus they waive off so many duties, etc. I wonder if you remember when the solar development took place in India.
Yes.
So
It
initially,
still is
that
going.
the subsidies were given. That 50% of the subsidy will do.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have technologies like wind energy,
Yes.
solar energy.
Mm.
In fact, we need to look at R&D in the nuclear research also.
Mhm.
Now, with the recent visit of the Prime Minister to Donald,
United States.
to Mr. Trump and all, they are offering us these to set up these research facilities. And to cut this whole story short, it's going to have a speed in a multiplier effect.
Uh-huh.
Things will not increase in arithmetical progression, they will increase in geometrical progression.
Geometrical progression. They
It won't be 1 plus 1, 2, and 2 plus 2, 4. It'll be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, on a geometrical scale to the power of n. The more you grow, the more you expand, the more you research, you become more friendly to the whole system.
some people are saying that next 20 years, अगले जो 20 साल है, is like the golden age for India. Is that so, and why is that so?
Well, there was a man called Nostradamus.
Yes.
He wrote a book
Huh.
in his time. I think maybe about
The Man Who Saw Tomorrow उसपे movie.
The Man Who Saw Tomorrow. I think this must be a prediction made about 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So he had predicted that in this year, and he specified this period, like you said, and he said there is going to be the a superpower,
A new superpower.
a new
emerging.
superpower, and he spelt it as Indorama.
Ah.
Yes. If you read the
Rama.
Indorama.
Yeah. Ram.
So you connect so well that, in fact, if you can talk to Nostradamus on your show next time, he'll give you more answers.
I wish I could. Now, the other
Do you have his mobile number?
I wish I did. I would have called him straight away. That's why I keep bringing in guests who are experts of their field. So put together their knowledge can.
I'm happy to share my views.
Now, one more question. Given the way India is going, and given this budget and the way economy is going, and our Prime Minister and United States Prime Minister being great friends, what do you think in the next coming years, next 5, 7, 8 years, is the best investment? Like stocks or mutual fund or real estate
I would put it as
or gold
well, gold is slated to be 1 lakh by the end of the year.
this year?
Yes, by December.
Okay.
But but these are just speculations.
Okay.
They are not for a long-term vision.
Hmm.
You may buy gold today at say 85, and you sit on it, and 7 months it will give you a return of 15, 15 on 85,
85, 20%.
20%. And then out of which another 20% goes away to the government as a tax. So maybe you would go for mutual funds. But I would say if you want to be or want to put your resources to an optimal use, the best is not put all your eggs in one basket.
You divide it.
You put something into which is a debt fund,
Okay.
or a debt service. Some you put into equity,
Mhm.
and some you put into hybrid funds,
Mhm.
which are debt funds as well as equity funds.
Okay.
You can be a player on the stock market as well. You can be in investing on those shares which are investing in electronics, or maybe infrastructure, or into the real game is happening now is artificial intelligence. So we have products arising out of artificial intelligence. So those companies who are engaged there, maybe that could provide you a growth factor.
See,
But land always stays.
land always stays. Okay.
That's what my great great grandfather did, followed by all the fathers.
Land always stays. Just elaborate on this.
A land by default is an estate, and it beats the inflation trends
All the time.
all the times.
Everything.
The rise of land prices is more than the rise of inflation.
Every time.
Yes,
And sometimes even more.
much more.
Much more. Okay. So you would rate, I'll be very happy if you'll say so, that real estate is the best investment always.
Yes, to cut the. I mean, you see if you look at the risk analysis,
Hmm.
if you buy an estate and sleep over it, something which you spent in lakhs, sell in crores.
Yeah. Sometimes thousands that you sell.
Sometimes you thousands, you sell crores. So therefore, that kind of a situation is there.
Yeah.
But somewhere or the other, you have to take a call whether it's a need-based situation or not. You see, somebody who sells the land today has a necessity.
Necessity.
So the necessity makes you invent more ideas.
More ideas, yeah.
So necessities pulls you out of the market. Yet at the same time, if you keep staying in the market, your chances or prospects of growth is always there.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you have a growth, you give it to your children leave you. We have lot of families where the children are not interested in wealth. They go abroad, settle abroad, they don't come back. And what does the old man do with a large pot of wealth? He can't take it with him.
Yeah.
That's where the whole paradox starts and ends.
But don't you think in the last 3-4 years, the I would say the idea of settling outside India has dropped?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Because what happens is our new generation of coming generation wants cleanliness, hygiene, good medicine, no power cuts, no floods on the road, no poor water management, no thefts. These are the basic kind of things. So looking at that facility, having a clean environment, that becomes a challenge for them to come back. So they, in fact, their intelligence quotient overtakes their emotional quotient. So they don't feel connected to your homeland at all. Anyone who's going on a study visa gets absorbed with a yellow card or a pink card or a green card, depending on some country, gets absorbed there. He's not an illegal immigrant, let me tell you that.
He's a legally immigrant.
You go abroad, you'll find the best doctors, Indians. The best lawyers, Indians. The best architects, Indians.
The best entrepreneur Indians.
Best entrepreneurs, Indians. In fact, there is a brain drain which our country has suffered. But now, maybe with a turnaround in the next 30 years, if India is shining, it is better than New York, it's better than London, then I see no reason for them to come back.
Yeah. Now, on this instance, I just want to ask you about chartered accountancy as a career. Given you have been on the panel teaching a lot of chartered accountants and teaching a lot of aspiring chartered accountant as well. Chartered accountancy as a career mostly, जैसे जब मैंने पढ़ाई की थी, मेरे जैसे लोग, हम तो ये सोचते थे कैसे करेंगे यार, ये तो सबसे मुश्किल काम है, तो लाखों लोग बैठते हैं और very few people get selected. So it looks like a lot of hard work and a lot of study. Don't you think that's a deterrent for a few people?
I would not react on the deterrent part.
know.
I would certainly say it's a very healthy profession,
Okay.
a very prospective profession. And if a profession needs the right competent people, then our examination system has been designed well enough to cater to the quality of the outcome of the products. So when we produce chartered accountants, we produce value for money. In the sense that there is a filtration program at the initial stage. So the pass percentage at the initial stage, say, would be 25%. So if 100 children join, 25 would make it at a level 1.
Okay.
Then when you come to level 2, the pass percentage is about 11%.
Of the 25.
Obviously,
That means 2.5%.
the 2.5.
Of the actual.
Yes. So in order to pass a judgment, then out of the initial 100 children born in the labor room, only 2.5 are going to make it to the portal. Well, that would not be a very unskilled or a sweeping statement on my part, but I would still say that it is the competency level which shines out. Like,
But as a career, the way
I
India,
could take you to a place where you have full of stones in a quarry. Okay, but only one lucky stone is going to get polished as a diamond.
correct.
Now, whether you are that diamond or not, whether how you are able to polish yourself, and the chartered accountant's examinations, tough as they may sound, quite often we get allegations that we have quota system over here. Nothing so at all. The institute
नहीं,
does
कोई
not.
quota system नहीं.
No, the institute doesn't have any filters or levels put in or some kind of controls that we will not produce more than what we want. This doesn't happen. It's a professionally managed. You have a panel of examiners, qualified examiners in the specialized subjects. We have subjects from computers to management to accounts to law. So they get scattered all over to the visiting faculties. And once they have given then there is an examinations committee, and we look at the summary of this marks, and then we publish the results also.
Yes.
So it is a transparent
System.
examination system. Nothing can be rigged out of it. Nothing can be it's not like you engineer something.
But with the growth of India, the way India is going, don't you think we need more chartered accountants?
Well, if you volume wise, our chartered accountants are rising.
Okay, they are.
Because the number of entries are there. I would also go a step further. There was a time when exclusively we had male members as students, but gradually we have the females also.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised, it does not restrict itself only to one class of people. We have children from all segments of the society becoming a chartered accountant.
Wow. Now, what is your advice to aspiring chartered accountants? That what do they need to focus on such that they get into this profession?
Well, they
Or they are able to at least clear the examination and get into.
Well, question one is they must have clarity of mind. They should have a power of comprehension, able to understand the problem before them. Now, as a successful chartered accountant, one must know what is the correct law and what is the correct fact, and then apply the correct law to the correct facts. Then you are able to arrive at a correct conclusion. Majority of the disasters which happens in the appeal proceedings or wherever the chartered accountants are facing conflicts is that sometimes the wrong law is applied to the wrong facts. So and law keeps changing also. Facts
So you have
also
to
keep changing.
keep yourself updated.
Yes. So I go back to your question. What are the aspirations that the chartered accountant who's going to aspire himself as a professional or even as a employee must be abreast of all the amendments in the law. Also must have a dynamic view of looking at a thing from a various angles.
The same thing from various.
The same. It's just not that he should look at like the blind man for the 12 blind man for the elephant. That approach does not sustain him. उसको अपनी दोनों आंखें तो खोलता ही है, उसको अपनी तीसरी आंख भी खोलनी पड़ेगी. और second advice is he has to have a very cool temperament. Because if your coolness goes, then your brain doesn't work. And his only asset is his brain. You know, you have a computer in your office.
Yes.
Before you buy the computer, you buy an air conditioner.
So that it doesn't get.
Why? Because you need a cool environment for the air conditioner.
Yes.
Similarly, you have a natural software, a natural intelligence, which also needs a cool mind. And that's how we need to function.
Very good. Now, how much can a chartered accountant earn on an average yearly? As a beginner?
as a beginner, if he meets his overheads in a professional, you see, chartered accountant can be earning in two angles. One angle is he could be an employee with some company. So his employee package would be there. So that employee package also varies from towns to towns. In metropolitans, you have a different. If your employer is an MNC, like किसी का रिश्ता आता है कहते हैं क्या करते हैं मैं MNC में काम करता हूँ. So that MNC means there's an extra edge or a label in the pay package.
Yeah.
A normal 5 lakhs package could be 10 lakhs for an MNC.
MNC.
So as an employee, a chartered accountant can command a very healthy financial package in which the terminal allowance at the end of the year is almost 75% of his total pay.
Okay.
So like suppose if you have a package of a lakh per month, so after 12 months you earn 12 lakhs, plus you earn a bonus of 75%, which is 9 lakhs.
Wow.
So these are the policies of the MNCs.
Yep.
They like to keep you on your toes. So it is like a international HR policy.
Okay.
So that is the kind of package we look at.
How many hours do they work every day?
Well, that depends from place to place, company to company.
If it is an
Sometimes
MNC paying you that money.
Well, some of these MNCs make you stay the night as well.
Wow.
Because of the timing difference of their home country.
Okay.
So if some data is required, so then it is like 24/7 sometimes. Then recently they started introducing after the COVID a policy called WFH. So that worked out very well. That saved transport cost and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then that work from home also reduced the morale of the employees because they became like a piece of the furniture in the house only. So now they have abolished work from home and they are back in their seats as normal. Coming to the other part of the chartered accountant who may not choose to be an employee
and they start their own practice.
Yeah, but he chooses to practice. Such categories are known as self-employed professionals.
Yes.
So a self-employed professional could earn depending upon his network and also on the net worth of the clients which he is servicing. But let me assure you, the institute has brought out a guideline of the scale of fees which a chartered accountant in professional practice
So you
can
can't
charge a minimal depending upon the years of practice.
Okay, like it's a slab.
It's not only a slab, it's like a minimum kind of a thing.
Okay, this is the minimum you and
Yeah.
there is a maximum limit to it as well.
There's no maximum.
As a maximum limit.
Maximally.
Okay.
But the ethics are very much detrimental in the sense that a chartered accountant in practice cannot, on a commercial scale, advertise. He cannot.
Why is that?
Well,
And this is in the case of lawyers as well.
Yes. There was a Marcus Aurelius, is a philosopher. He wrote a sentence that a man must stand upright on his own. You don't need stilts to support you. So your work should become your passion, your work, your service should attract people towards you for your services.
पर अभी तो काफी सारे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स जो हैं इन्फ्लुएंसर्स बन गए इंस्टाग्राम में.
Well, they
वो इन्फ्लुएंसर करके बातें बताते हैं, उसके बाद उनके पास बिजनेस आता है.
Maybe that is a backdoor way of advertising, but our ethic rules do not permit.
Even for lawyers, no?
Yeah. What happens is, in the whole context, you have to stand on your own. You don't need the support. So we can never say, we can never advertise, buy one, we get you free second one.
But tell me
Or we can't have happy hours. We can't, we cannot commercialize because basically.
But why not?
We are service providers.
So what?
But as a service provider, our professional ethics do not. The only time I have ever advertised in my life as a professional is a change of my address. that my professional address is changed. That is the only time I have. In fact, there are restrictions on the way I can print my visiting card, my letterheads, my.
But do all chartered accountants follow this?
Yes, they do.
Oh.
I cannot advertise myself. I cannot come on any portal or any place. Suppose I'm on a TV show, I'm introduced. That's fair enough. That is not advertisement.
Does
Now, like today on this discussion
Hmm.
panel over here, you have introduced me
Hmm.
as a chartered
Chartered
accountant. So a lot of
accountant.
people would see me
Hmm.
on the
Uh,
when you launch this.
on the
So they will
YouTube.
become aware of my services. But then that is not advertising by myself.
Ah,
That's by invitation. I'm
invitation.
invited.
Yeah,
But
you're not soliciting business.
absolutely. But if I were to put an advertisement in Hindustan Times tomorrow, PN Khanna Company offers following
Following
services:
services.
dry cleaning, dyeing, darning. I'm not
Tell
a
me
dry
one thing.
cleaning
When I have a question now. When I register a new company.
Yeah.
Okay. With the Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
Yeah.
As soon as my company is registered.
Yeah.
I remember when I registered my company.
Yeah.
Before I got to know from my chartered accountant that you got the certificate of incorporation, I had 45 emails in which they were bankers sending me emails.
Yeah.
And there were chartered accountant companies also sending me emails.
That is soliciting business.
Huh,
That would be covered
that
by.
we will take care of your compliances. That
Let me explain to you. The Chartered Accountants Act 1949
Hmm.
has got the professional misconduct defined under Section 21.
Okay.
And it says professional misconduct is covered under the two schedules. There are
Okay.
first schedule and second schedule.
Okay.
In first schedule, you have the lesser ones, the lesser penal ones.
Hmm.
The second schedule is much more serious, like gross negligent
Mhm.
or advertisement. So therefore, you cannot tarnish the image of a chartered accountant.
Hmm.
The chartered accountant has reputation and nothing else.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
therefore, if he is led to astray, in fact, there have been cases in the institute where people who are not chartered accountants
Hmm.
and they started behaving,
Projecting themselves
Yeah.
as.
they started making themselves, leading people to believe that they are chartered accountants.
Hmm.
Then that made a very alarming
Mhm.
measure was taken, and we introduced the concept of a UDIN.
Okay.
That no chartered accountant can sign without a UDIN.
UDL.
Now, UDIN is an identification number
Uh-huh.
which establishes a direct nexus between your UDIN number and your membership number.
Uh-huh.
So, therefore, if I issue a certificate for somebody for some purpose and I issue it with the UDIN, that UDIN is a verifiable certificate that whether Mr. Khanna is a genuine chartered accountant or not.
Hmm.
And UDIN has become a mandatory procedure to weed out mm, imposters acting as chartered accountants, not having a professional degree, and maligning the quality of the profession.
So the advice is that if we are taking services from a new chartered accountant or for meeting them for the first time, we look at what document to ensure.
Absolutely. Yes. You need to you have to do your due diligence.
Huh.
Simply because somebody claims to be a chartered accountant does not necessarily imply that the ethical standards have been maintained or not.
So these emails that they come, this is
Soliciting of business.
So this is non-compliant. So
unless you happen to be your client, it's fine. Now, suppose.
No, I'm just getting it randomly. Like people get it randomly.
See, I'll tell you what. Suppose now, recently, this new finance bill came. So my company issued some kind of an advisory.
But
and
you
sent
issue it to your own clients.
Yeah, I sent it all to my existing clients.
Hmm.
Now,
That is very different.
that does not amount to soliciting, because when you say
That's part of your service that you're giving to your
when you're looking at a solicit, means you're soliciting a new client.
new client.
So that clause would not apply.
Mhm.
But if I were to go from building to building, tower to tower, and carry a bunch of my visiting cards,
Mhm.
that
That is soliciting.
that is soliciting.
And that is not allowed.
And that is to preserve the character. Like Marcus Aurelius earlier had said,
Hmm.
a professional must stand erect on his own.
Oh.
So you need to stand on your own competence, which is spread by word or mouth.
Yeah. Mr. Khanna, एक और क्वेश्चन है.
जी.
आप डेकेड से आपकी ऑलमोस्ट 8 डेकेड से
जी.
फर्म काम कर रही है. आपने क्या ट्रांजिशन देखा है और ओवर द इयर्स आपकी वर्किंग का, टैक्स फाइलिंग का और से ऑर्डर्स आने का या रिफंड आने का, जो भी पूरा सिस्टम है उसमें क्या चेंजेस आए हैं?
If I were to summarize the whole question in one word,
Huh.
it would be the technological factor is the is a key change.
Okay.
उसकी वजह से ही हमारा सोचने का तरीका, काम करने का तरीका, उठने का तरीका, बैठने का तरीका सब डिफरेंट हो गया है.
जैसे
Like when you pay a visit to my office, you'll see how the staff today works, almost paperless.
Okay.
But if I were to take you down to the history part, जब बाबा के ज़माने में रिटर्न फाइल हुआ करती थी, that was all done manually. At that time, there was no photostat machine, there was no fax machine, there was no calculator. It was all done. There was a roll-on facet kind of a machine was there, and everything had to be done manually, literally. And then it was typed. I wonder a lot of your children, your grandchildren, they don't know what a typewriter is. And typewriter was the bread and butter of our office. They would always be rattling off. We would have 5 typewriters. We are all typing and we would fill up the return. Our income tax return would weigh about half a kilo at least 500 grams I would say, which is the size of an Amul butter today. And that income tax return would have all the annual accounts, then 2 or 3 audit reports, or your TDS certificates, your Form 16As, all manually done. And once they were compiled, they were sent to the
file
or signatures to the client's office. That would take us 2 days
to get signed.
because physically it would go and physically it would come back and then it would be filed in the income tax department physically with a rubber seal and an index number. And then probably there was a sunset clause for 2.5 years. Nothing would happen. And then it would crawl. Order would not come. It would get processed. Again, manually notices were given. Once assessment order was done, then the appeals were filed. They were also being fought physically at the commissioner's level, then the higher level at the tribunal level. It was all done physically. Gradually, the photostat came. So the consumption of the carbon went down. So we would type one sheet and take photostat, stamp it, and then file it. Then the calculator came. I mean, I may be sounding like as if I've come from Mohenjo-daro, but that's the truth. And eventually, once these things were over, then things like more automation started happening. And then the income tax department also went online on the portal. And the facility of online was being implemented. With the result, the papers lost their utility. But still, we would keep a documentary evidence to protect ourselves as professionals. Because अगर हम किसी का कुछ इनकम या ऑडिट सर्टिफाई करते हैं तो हमारे वर्किंग पेपर्स हैव टू बी केप्ट विद अस. So there was a era when we would compile the whole file physically, but the filing and of the documents was done online. And initially, the period was reduced from 2.5 years to 1 year for processing of the income tax assessment order, appeal effects, issue of refunds, etc. Gradually, that 1 year became 6 months. And now, if you pay a visit to my office, if I file a return at 4 o'clock, at 5 minutes past 4, I have the assessment order. Wow. And quite often, the client rings me up that the money has come back to in my bank also.
The refund.
Traditionally, we used to get the physical refund.
Physical check. I remember.
Check from the department that would be handed over to the client. The client would sign as acknowledgement on the back, send it to the bank. So it would almost take easily 3 weeks for the money to come in the bank itself.
After 2.5 years of wait.
After 2.5 years of wait, which has been reduced to probably 3 minutes.
Wow.
So that way the technology, in fact, I start feeling a little bit in a mixed feelings that I don't know for good or bad, but sometimes I do feel scared about this fast track technology because day in and day out, we have these scams coming up also. So what we do is we lock the computers with special locks.
Okay.
Because the the data of the client,
is very
particularly
important.
it is so sensitive that we cannot afford any leakage out from anywhere.
Hmm.
And remember one thing, a hacker
Hmm.
is more intelligent than a software developer. He is able to, like पुराने जमाने में जो चोर होता है
उसको
वो लॉ में,
समझते थे।
यस द लॉ ब्रेकर लॉ मेकर से ज्यादा बुद्धिमान और ज्यादा शैतान होता है। लेकिन आप ये सोचते हैं कि सब कुछ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक होने से हमारा सिस्टम सेफ है, वहाँ पे मेरे को थोड़ा-सा डर सा लगा रहता है।
Hmm.
समटाइम्स इट इज़ टू गुड टू बी ट्रू।
Too good to be true. Yeah.
अगर आपके बैंक में पैसा आ गया, तो रिसेंटली व्हाट हैपेंस इज़ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक थिंग्स आर ऑलवेज वर्किंग आउट।
Yeah.
Recently, we had a case where it was reported in the newspapers in Gurgaon. There was a couple was staying there,
Mhm.
and this LIC agent had a claim check in his hands for 5,07,000 or something. So he rang the doorbell
Mhm.
and he asked for the lady. So the lady opened the door and he said, "Ma'am, very sorry to hear, but we had this check for you."
Hmm.
So the lady said, "Please come inside." So asked the gentleman to come inside,
Hmm.
and that lady's name was Mrs. Mathur. So
Mhm.
says, "Very sorry, this is your check
Hmm.
because this is your claim check, and we are very sorry because Mr. Mathur is no more." So the lady introduced the LIC agent to the one gentleman and said, "Let me introduce you, Mr. Mathur."
Wow.
So Mr. Mathur was alive. Physically, he was alive, but on the software of your somewhere the false claim was there, a false Aadhaar card was generated.
Somebody filed a false claim to get the money.
Yes.
Wow.
So there was some Mr. Mathur who had died in the civil hospital. So he generated that data, filed a death certificate, filed an Aadhaar card, filed a bank account, everything.
Oh my God.
So the money would come in his bank account automatically. But
But
he
they
forgot.
saw
But
it.
he forgot one thing, that under the LIC rules, if a claim is more than 5 lakhs,
They
it
have
cannot be. They
physically.
physically come with the witness.
Wow.
So but I would say if the claim was 4 lakhs
Hmm. It would have gone.
without Mr. Mathur dying.
Wow.
So these are the kind of scams or sensitive datas where we are all the time worried. I won't be surprised that if somebody steals your mobile phone and your artificial intelligence, they send you a link, they would transfer some money to you and then they ring up and say, "Sir, गलती से आपके
आपके
पैसा
पैसे
चला
आए
गया है,
हैं, हाँ,
आप जरा वापस भेज दीजिए."
हाँ,
So the moment they say share a link, they've already raised a red flag on your account. So the moment you accept the link, your money gets emptied.
wow.
So I think probably the wisest man on this earth
Hmm.
would be who keeps zero money in his account, which is a flexible account.
Uh-huh.
Now you are into a state, you could be having crores of money in there.
Hmm.
So therefore, it's better that your access is stopped
Hmm.
or you put everything into the FDRs.
Uh-huh.
You just keep enough operational money which is required for your day-to-day expenses. Now, I might be slightly transgressing, but this is the kind
This is
of
very important
but
information.
this is the advisory we issue to our clients.
That keep minimal in your,
Keep zero balance.
Ah.
Put everything into your FDRs.
even for current accounts as well as savings.
It can happen anywhere.
It can happen anywhere.
You see, the fraudster
Hmm.
is not fond of asking you that whether your account is a savings account or it is a current
Current account.
account. He is only interested in your money. Now, therefore, these kind of scams do happen sometimes. Recently, some scamster was caught in Mumbai, the CBI's after his life,
Hmm.
where there was connivance between the income tax officers as well as some chartered accountants
Hmm.
who generated a refund scam.
Uh-huh.
So you are not even aware, but your money has been siphoned off.
Hmm.
Ignorance is not an excuse at all when it
Mhm.
comes to absolutely. So you have to be not just alert or cautious, but probably I'm not trying to give you a sleepless night. I'm only trying to explain to you that
So this is very, very important.
this is the most crucial thing. Your hard-earned money can be siphoned off because you have shared your credentials with somebody. So what we do is we have a book in the office. I'll show it to you when you pay a visit. That book is containing all the passwords of my clients, the PAN numbers, date of birth, personal information. That is under lock and key.
Okay.
The other issue is we have digital signatures,
Yes.
which is an electronic means of signing.
Yeah.
So a lot of documents which are uploaded, they have to be digitally signed.
Digitally signed.
So the clients with full trust give us the physical custody of the DSCs.
So that means trust plays the biggest part
Yes.
when it comes to a client signing up with a chartered accountant as their.
So those DSCs are again under lock and key. So if somebody wants to use a DSC, he has to come ask why is he asking it, for what he's asking it, and for limited use, he takes it and puts it back.
इसीलिए शायद if we look at it, most people over generations don't change their chartered accountants.
Well, it's an old, very old saying, never change your doctor, never change your, because a doctor looks after your physical health.
Physical health.
A chartered accountant is a doctor for your financial health. And you have to develop and evolve not only a professional relationship, you have to open up because his tax planning depends also upon your, if you have a minor, how to do about it. He grows up, becomes 18, what to do now or what not to do. So these kind of things are always prevalent around.
Yeah. That's so important. I think this will be very useful for our viewers.
Yeah.
My final question to you.
Sure.
Which is, a lot of people ask this question. Even I've seen debates happening amongst professionals and businessmen. They say कि अगर एक प्रोफेशनल की किसी भी प्रोफेशनल की सैलरी से 30 लाख है तो न्यू टैक्स रिजीम से 4-5 लाख के आसपास का उसका टैक्स पड़ेगा
जी
एंड अगर किसी की बिजनेस इनकम 30 lakhs है he might get away by paying say a lakh of rupees.
Absolutely.
तो some people say that ये disparity है.
The income tax is payable on income. The income is what is on record. Now, if you have a salary income, it arises from an employer-employee relationship.
Correct.
And there is a section which says that the employer must deduct the tax
Yes.
at source
TDS.
under section 192 and issue a form number 16 to the employee.
Correct.
Now, the employee cannot hide his salary income from the deduction at source.
They can't.
Now, we come to the business. The businessman who is a self-employed businessman, whether he's a merchant or he's a professional, his income on which his tax is payable, it will be that income which he can declare. So what happens is he can introduce variable components as expenditures and claim it out of his declared income. So now if there is an area or a loophole for a businessman, that loophole, it does not exist for a employee. Also, the income tax officer has a power to disallow the expenses from the business as well. But what are the parameters? The parameter is, one, the business expenditure is not personal in nature. Second, it is not a capital living in that connected with this. It's only a revenue kind of a thing. So it's not personal, it's not capital. And three, it is for the purpose of the business.
Okay.
So therefore, by and large, assuming that professional or a businessman who's putting these expenses, he's running a risk on that account. To risk to establish the connectivity or the nexus or the link between the expenses claimed and the business income. Now, against 100 rupees which he's collected, suppose he's able to dub in 90 rupees as expenditure, which is subject to query. So he is staggering down, lowering the base of his income. Look at the salary. If he is getting 100 rupees as salary, he cannot reduce it by any chance.
Yeah.
But in order to give a relief to the salary employees,
They give
for an expenditure relating to that employment, there are 2-3 deductions eligible. One, if there is some tax paid to the state government, which is known as a professional tax. For example, in the state of Maharashtra, if you're an employee in Maharashtra, say in Mumbai or Pune, you have to pay professional tax. That professional tax is allowable out of your salary income. In addition to this, there is a concept of standard deduction. In the older times, the standard deduction was 5,000. Then it became 10,000. Then became 15. Then for some time it was 25. Then it was raised to 50 just 2 years back. And that 50 has become now 75. Now you can consider yourself that if you are an employee, there is no room for you to reduce your taxable. It's a watertight compartment. But if you are the same position as earning as a self-employed, so lot of times it is seen that as a income tax strategy, lot of employees, they are transferred from contract of service to contract for service. You see, if you say I'm a contract of
They
service,
become a professional
yes,
and they show their income as business.
absolutely. So therefore, if there was an employee of 100 rupees, he signed a contract of service. Therefore, he is an employer-employee relationship. He cannot put more than 50,000 claim or 75,000 as per the law. But if you make him on an outsource basis, I mean, his work profile remains the same. His job profile remains the same, but his status becomes a contract for services. That is the difference between off service and for service. Now, when he's doing contract for service, then the TDS rate also goes down to 10%.
Yes, it does.
Which earlier and also the income part, which he is finally going to return in his income tax return, that also can be manipulated or reduced by loading in expenses, which otherwise were having no say when he was having a contract of service. He could have a mobile phone. Mobile phone expenses would be claimed as an expenditure. He would come in a motor car. He could claim a depreciation of that motor car. He could hire further consultants or further salaried employees, which are helping him generate his revenue. All that does not exist in his contract of services. That is why there is a shift between contract of service to contract for service. But there is a catch.
What is that?
The good side is he saves taxes. The bad side is he loses gratuity, he loses provident fund, he loses ESI protection, he loses all the benefits which
That he
would
may get as
an employee. Like maybe in your company, you give free canteen food to your employees.
All
But
that goes away.
naturally, that will not be. Why would you give it to an outsider? Or simply put in a different capsule, tomorrow that man makes a golden handshake. If he was an employee, then under the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972, you would be obliged to pay him 26 days in a month, or 15 days per year of completed service, half a month. Now, if you work that out formula, so if somebody's salary is 1 lakh of rupees, and that salary is rising each year also. So what he was drawing lakh last year, he would be drawing 1,10,000 today. So his gratuity will be worked out not on last year's lakh, it will be worked out on the LPC. LPC would mean the last pay certificate at the time of retirement. So another problem is after 58, you have to make him go, which otherwise you may not be. But it may be a win-win situation for the employer because he doesn't pay the gratuity. The gratuity could work out even to a very large, heavy amounts. But there is a cap of 20 lakhs of rupees right now, which I am overhearing all these gossips and whispers that 20 lakhs might get increased. But today, if somebody's gratuity works out to 26 lakhs, he cannot be paid more than 20 lakhs. Now think of the PFI, PF, then think of the ESI. There's a host of other workman compensation.
Plus,
Suppose there is an accident. After all, accidents happen every day.
plus, I would say that the business person is also taking the risk of having a variable income himself.
Yes.
He may or may not
There is
earn
no
anything.
Yes.
Like in my case,
Yeah.
there are months I don't make any money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, there are certain times where the person in the construction business, like you're talking, for you, your year is not 12 months.
12.
It is 8 months.
Yeah,
Because for 4 months,
I
you
can't
have
do construction.
no, you have grab 3.
Grab trick.
Your AQI doesn't work. So your period is for 8 months. But what do you do to your employees for the next 4 months?
They're still getting the money.
They still get the money. You are bound to pay them.
Hmm.
Also, not only this, there is a risk of so many attendant risks which the self-employed business does.
Yeah,
Your business could be declared illegal also.
yeah.
What will you do? Suppose
And-
tomorrow they pass a law, a funny law, because this country passes funny laws. Suppose they say that buildings, estate business is declared illegal. What will
it
you
can
do?
be. There was in
It happened to a couple of my clients. They were into liquor.
yeah, and it was made.
Now, liquor was banned in 2-3 states.
Yeah.
I wonder if you remember.
Yes, I know. Even in Haryana, it was banned.
They were declared as dry state.
Dry states, even Haryana was
Now, you tell me, what happened to those liquor people?
nothing. They got over.
Most of them died.
In even in the after independence for many years, there was a land holding, I would say, policy where private people couldn't be developers.
Like Himachal Pradesh has a law, so far, archaic law,
Yeah.
that a non-Himachali cannot
Cannot own a piece of land.
own. Now, that is done away with.
Yeah.
So, therefore, a lot of development happening.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to explain to you is that
Businessman always stands a chance.
a businessman is facing risk of change of law, change of technology, change of fashion.
Yeah.
Look at these ready-made garments. They manufacture shirts. The tall collar shirts are not in fashion.
Not on.
What would you do? So therefore, business risk is there. But then, as an economist, if I would say, higher the risk, higher
Higher
the
the reward.
profit.
Yeah.
So therefore, like for example, you must have heard of the lottery business.
Yes, it just went away.
Now the lottery business, people made millions and trillions out of lottery business.
Even
Till lottery was declared illegal.
businesses related to my very close, but means my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Their parents ran an industry. They used to print lotteries.
See, there
So
you are.
they took a big hit when
True.
the lottery business went out.
So when then that's also a business risk. It's
Yeah.
a tide and wave.
Correct.
Some of your businesses are very sensitive to fashion.
Correct.
They are very sensitive to certain part of, for example, a lot of people dealing in dry fruits.
Mm.
They went in for a sixer till last year.
Mm.
Why? Because of the Ukraine war.
Mm-hmm.
The supplies got haywire. So it has a very big
Risk as well.
a telling effect on your business itself. Technology. People who are producing computers. There again, they take a very big hit. They've just manufactured one generation and it
Then it
is
changes.
declared obsolete. How do you take a call on that?
Mm.
So therefore, you have to take a larger view of saying that a business is
Always at risk.
at a risk. So therefore, the vulnerability to rise and the fall. So a lot of businesses, because of your foreign currency, they are linked to foreign currency.
Yes.
They are linked so many times. The things are for example, I don't wonder if you remember the travel and tourism.
Yes, it was hit big time.
Travel tourism were very big time. Today, if you want to fly to Goa, you will never go to a travel agent's office. You will just open your laptop and your ticket is booked.
Yeah.
Then what is a travel agent for? The airlines were giving commission to these travel agents. The hospitality sector, the hotels, they had their booking vouchers being issued. Nobody talks about it. So therefore, with the shift of places, certain businesses which were booming, they
don't exist anymore.
They are all become defunct.
Yeah.
I think if you look at it in a very larger way, then I think your problem, there's no need for feeling miserable that the tax rates are higher for a salary employee than a businessman.
Oh, so great, so great. Thank you so much, Mr. Khanna.
It's a pleasure with you.
It is a pleasure, and I'm sure that people will take great value from this.
I also take this opportunity to wish you and your team a step ahead, a step forward, all love and blessings, and for more and more such inspiring talks in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, everybody. Another great podcast. Do leave your comments and do forward it to people who may need it. And do let us know that what are the other kind of guests you would like to see on our show. Thank you so much.